Welcome back to Glamour Unfiltered, hosted by me, Josh Smith. And today we are joined by Dacre Montgomery. Yes!
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh no, we're excited to have you. And do you know what I'm just excited about is the Broken Hearts Gallery. What a film. It's a little bit of joy, a little bit of escapism, something we all need right now. But one of the things I loved about it was it wasn't necessarily about the romantic story between two characters. It was about their own journey with themselves and this idea of love. What is the idea of self-love like for you as a person? And what's your journey been like with it?
I think it's probably relatively synonymous with what the director presented me with. Natalie, who directed the film, basically, when I first met her, she said, I obviously had this film for a long time. I've had it written for a long time. And my biggest thing in my life is about having a partner, whether that be male, female, whoever, who supports me in my endeavors and who really, really, really wants me to shine and blossom in my own career and my own life as an individual, as well as in the couple, right? So for me, that was the biggest thing I wanted to target with this film. That was a big thing for me as well in my own life. You know, for example, with my partner, I just try and support her in her own endeavors as much as I can in her own career and in her choices. And that for me was a big part of the reason I think I was drawn to this film.
Yeah, and I think we need more films like this that are kind of like, you know, the traditional like chick flick, teen flick kind of vibe, where we're actually showing people positive relationships. Because there's a lot of like examples of gaslighting on TV. There's a lot of examples of stuff like that that mean that we need more representations of relationships like this. Do you think that's important as well?
Yeah, I do think it's important. I think it's obviously film and television. They're all used as outlets to explore something that I think learning needs to come from. The great thing is, you're right, this is a really light film. It's a beautiful piece of escapism that's going to come right off the tail end of a lot of period of time in home, which I think is exciting. And I also think you're right, there's this message in there about supporting the ones that you love, which I think is exciting. And it's coming from a level of, I'm genuine, you know, when I tell you, obviously, that I want to support the other people in my life in their own thing. So that was directly what attracted me to this character.
And I think also this character isn't necessarily a traditionally like uber masculine, uber like macho kind of guy. Like, you know, he's quite honest about his feelings. What is your own relationship with this idea of traditional masculinity been like for you?
With Stranger Things as well, this idea of the archetypal villain or the bully or all this sort of stuff, and everything that I think was explored in that show with my character was fantastic, because I feel like when I was a kid, I was thinking, oh, I suffer from sensitivity. That was a thing I talked a lot about. But then when I came of age, it was like, that's a gift, you know, to be a sensitive guy. And I always felt like when I was a kid, oh, this traditional archetypal idea of masculinity is someone that hides and shields their emotions from the rest of the world. And I kind of, when I came of age, I called it on that a little bit and was kind of like, I want to be a sensitive person and I want to embrace that side of me and also the characters that I play. So with Billy and Stranger Things, it was making that character everything but this bully. It was someone that was struggling with so much more. And I think that's why I wanted to do such a big 180 with this character, Nick, in Broken Hearts, because I wanted to explore a different world, a different idea, but also the same sensitivity. And I think I am really attracted to that element in Nick's character in the Broken Hearts Gallery, because he is sensitive and he is very aware of things. And I think that's why he has such a powerful impact on Lucy and on her life. And I'm glad that was able to sort of shine through in her story as well.
When do you feel like you came of age?
I don't know. I feel like I've had multiple sort of moments in my own personal life, then multiple moments in my career where I felt like I summoned enough chutzpah to push back against whatever ideas I thought I was supposed to be when I was a kid. So I feel like that has various different iterations in my life. I feel like leaving high school was one big step. Leaving university was another big step. All these ideas of like institutionalized life. And then I think working enough in my career, being lucky enough to work in my career to get to a point where I was really confident in myself. But, you know, your whole life you're learning, and you know, I still struggle with self-confidence and all kinds of things like that. But now I have enough grounding below me to kind of really own my personality, my choices, all that sort of stuff. And I think for everyone that comes at different ages. And if it had happened any differently with me when I was a kid, then I wouldn't be the person that I am. So I'm thankful for all of my experiences.
I mean, your career is just going from strength to strength. So that's the exciting part as well. And then, you know, Stranger Things has been such an amazing success, but this idea of camaraderie, I think, is something that's kind of gone through your career on the different things you've been on. How much has that camaraderie and that idea of teamwork helped you at different times?
I think it's just increased more and more. Like, you know, when you come out of high school and you go into drama school, you have to work with a body of people, get so much energy off the collaborative sort of nature. And then you have time in isolation, and then you work with a film crew for 5 weeks to 6 months, and it's collaborative. And then when you start to jump up in your career, I guess, you get to interact with creatives you love. So I feel like this idea of the collaborative nature, or the ideology behind any film crew, which is like a group, a family, producing something or a story, is something that I've fallen more and more in love with, coming from a childhood where I felt kind of alone in my creativity. Then it allows you to sort of blossom more when there's people around you who are really engaged and invested and passionate about creating and about hearing stories and hearing different voices. I think that's the best thing as an actor. You get to wake up every week and read a new script, dive into a new world that's something completely different to last week's. That's the best for me. Yeah.
How did you feel alone when you were growing up, in that sense, alone with your creativity of that?
Well, when I was younger, I spoke a lot about, recently I've spoken about when I was younger being bullied a lot. So I think just that idea of feeling so trapped in the high school sort of setting and the primary school setting. And that idea, I think, individualizes you in a sense, which is the antithetical to what you're talking about, which is collaboration. You know what I mean? Like, even if to use the idea of sport playing, I never played sport as a kid. So there was never this idea of team built into my mind, my life, my work, right? And so when you're a bit of a loner, it is literally, it's the opposite to when you get to start working with so many people, like you're saying, all the amazing women behind the camera on this particular project and all the other people I get to work with in my life. It's so far the opposite.
Do you feel like you're doing this career, and when you have this success, do you feel like you're doing it for that kid who was bullied back in the day?
Of course, like, to an extent. And I also think we're talking about removing masks and stuff. I'm doing it for the younger version of myself, selfishly as well, right? Because I've been working a lot on that in the break, and there's always sort of some subset of ourselves that we repress because it wasn't right at that time, or we weren't allowed to do that, or people didn't want us to be that. And I think when you press all that into a ball, it becomes this raging energy, but it also becomes this powerful sort of dark force. And I think for me, it's just giving that part of my childhood the power to be who that person always wanted to be, without getting too kind of like meta about the whole thing and coming at it from like a psychological standpoint. But I think that's just definitely in my life what I've tried to do, is kind of go, here, take that, you know, and then you shed a layer. Then you can kind of move on, explore a new story, shed a layer, you know. I use every role as a catharsis. That's probably a selfish thing, but I do that every time.
Yeah, I think that's what's the power of acting, isn't it? The fact you get to put your emotions on someone else, and you can be like, you go deal with that now. I can leave it with that character, move on. Yeah. I think it's also really amazing to hear someone like you talk this openly about the things you've been through, the struggles you've been through. And I think if we had more people, more men in the public eye talking about this kind of stuff, then it would help a lot of people to have more open and honest conversations.
Totally. Yeah, I think it needs to, this idea of talking honestly in that capacity that you're talking about needs to become more of a regular thing. But I think it's just like, how do you attack it on a bigger scale? is something I'm yet to figure out. And I always talk to anyone openly like this, like we are now, sort of chatting candidly about it. But I think it's finding where something went wrong in some part of the system along the way, you know, and try to sort of reroute and go back to the sort of origin, and then we can figure it out and allow all these things and values and attitudes that we're talking about to trickle into this idea of masculinity.
Yeah. And I think as long as we are having these conversations, as long as even people are having them with their friends, like, you're going to dismantle it by bit. And that's the powerful thing. That's the power that anyone can do that in their own lives, their friends.
Totally.
I think it's important for everyone to remember that.
Yes, no, extremely. I agree with you completely.
Well, it has been so interesting talking to you today. I think you're great. Love the film. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep slaying it.
Thanks,
and hopefully see you in real life super soon.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate it so much. And just stay safe over there. I know there's a lot of cases still, so hopefully you get some respite and you can go out into the community and do stuff. And in the meantime, I guess I hope everyone enjoys the film, and it's going to be great.
I think people are going to be buzzing for it.